Originally, when I began this project, I was aiming to fashion a marvelous song out of my bare hands. Possibly not my bare hands, but certainly using my electronic keyboard and a scratchy voice on a underpowered computer, although hands would no doubt be involved unless some terrible accident befell me. However, I soon realized that my weekend consisted not of the several unoccupied days or busy weeks that it takes to complete a quality song, but instead of one or two jam-packed days filled with additional homework, familial birthday celebrations, and obligatory horseback riding. In addition, I came to the awful conclusion 12 hours into my first project that attempting to convert lengthy anachronistic literary quotations into workable song lyrics was a project better left to the likes of God and his dress shirt wearing son, Mr. B.H. Obama, the Christ. So I gave up. I laid down my oversized broadsword, representative of my will, to pass myself off as a good artisan of music, constructed to fulfill the desires of a rubric hungry for my knowledge of Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman, and moved on to different ventures, namely this one. Laying down that broadsword, representative of my will, to pass myself off as a good artisan of music, constructed to fulfill the desires of a rubric hungry for my knowledge of Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman, was difficult and required much on my part. An enormous portion of all my aspirations to do anything had just been surrendered. But enough of my peremptory explanation. You're not perching at the edge of your rolly chairs, red pens hovering over my naughty rubric, to listen to me babble on about my adolescent weekend. You're here to listen to my take on Arthur Miller's perception of the American dream. Well, it begins now. Now, Arthur Miller is one of those author types who focus on primarily one topic. His is the American dream. Not the European dream or the New Zealand dream, the American dream. Because he lived in America. A clear, accurate definition of the American dream for the ignorant is as follows. The American dream is the aspiration of American citizens to become successful and to leave a mark on society. In every era of American civilization, American citizens have been striving to achieve this dream, to become successful and happy, and to leave their mark in their own unique way. The attempts of some individuals to achieve this dream sometimes, as we will see, end in complete and utter failure. Arthur Miller is most famous, at least to the uninitiated in our class, for his unparalleled play, Death of a Salesman. The titular death is of the main character, Willie Loman, who is, spoiler alert, a salesman. Willie Loman is 63, in other words, old. He has a wife, Linda, and two grown boys, Biff and Happy. As a salesman, it's his goal to be successful and to hold bags of money. Does he hold bags of money? No, or there would be no drama in this story, would there? He also has a strong desire to pass on his blazing soul/ambition onto his children. That's just the spirit I want to imbue them with, to walk into a jungle, he shouts on page 73 of the book. Jungles are dangerous places. Willie is absolutely in love with this idea of the American dream. His method of going about achieving it is to be personable. I found this quote on page 21 of the Penguin 20th Century Classics edition of Death of the Salesman, which I think illustrates the point nicely. The man who makes an appearance in the business world, the man who creates personal interest, is the man who gets ahead. Be liked and you will never want, Willie says. This be liked and you will never want business is basically Willie's mantra throughout the entire piece. Unfortunately, Willie is unable to reconcile himself to the truth that this is a load of steaming horse poo. His failure to make enough money and to connect with his children makes him go crazy and hallucinate. He imagines that important events from his past are happening in the present, which causes problems when, for instance, he's playing cards with his friends and talking to his dead brother about diamonds in Africa at the same time. But there's an explanation for this irrational behavior. He drives 700 miles, and when he gets there, no one knows him anymore. No one welcomes him. And what goes through a man's mind driving 700 miles home without having earned a cent? Why shouldn't he talk to himself, proclaims his wife Linda on page 42. Willie is put under such mental strain day in and day out that he finds himself unable to cope and turns to memories of his glory days, when everything had the appearance of being fine and dandy. He is terminally disappointed with his inability to achieve the American dream, poor bugger. Another aspect that has to be factored into Miller's perception of the American dream is his ideas about tragic heroism. I was sitting in front of a crackling fireplace the other day and started reading Tragedy in the Common Man, an essay by Arthur Miller. It seemed to me that Miller was writing exactly about Willie Loman, which astonished me. I never thought before of Willie as a tragic hero, but Miller changed my mind about that, let me tell you. The tragic feelings evoked in us when we are in the presence of a character who's ready to lay down his life, if need be, to secure one thing, his sense of personal dignity, Miller told me in his essay. This struck me, and hard. Willie's failure to achieve the American dream kept making him mad and angsty, and not to mention delusional, but in the end all he wanted was to be well liked and respected. He, spoiler alert, kills himself in the end to get his life insurance benefit for his family to support them. He lays down his life to secure his personal dignity. Miller also notes that the underlying struggle is that of the individual attempting to gain his rightful position in society. Willie is doing nothing but attempting to gain his position in society, that of a successful businessman with a beautiful family and respect offered to him. In other words, achieving the American dream. So is Willie a tragic hero? Why, yes. Yes, he is. So what is Miller's perception of the American dream? His characters, the foremost of which is Willie, strive for it, yet miss out on it, and as a result have nothing but mental turmoil. His perception, in this sense, is that despite the hope it instills in those who strive for it, it can ultimately lead to desperation and disappointment. It's a warning, then, that the American dream is only something to strive for, not a total means of fulfillment, and treating it as such leads to, unsurprisingly, being unfulfilled. This sentiment is also evidenced by Miller's views on tragedy and how neatly his primary character, Willie, fits into those views. Willie is a tragic hero in the sense that his dignity and his position in society are important to him, and he'll sacrifice almost anything to achieve them, even ultimately, spoiler alert, his life. The end.